A Ducati rider just said the quiet part into a microphone. Not a rival. Not an Aprilia man looking to needle them. Not a journalist fishing for a headline. Fabio di Giannantonio, sitting on the bike that has been the benchmark in MotoGP for years, pointed straight at the one thing Ducati spent that entire run of dominance keeping out of the conversation: the front end. The limitation. The hole that the results were supposed to prove did not exist. And his words about it were that it is not a secret at all. So why is a Ducati rider confirming that weakness now, in 2026, when the red bike is still supposed to be untouchable? And what exactly changed to drag it into the open? Here is why that lands harder than one rider venting after a rough Sunday. Di Giannantonio did not invent this out of frustration. He reached straight back to the day Jorge Martin first threw a leg over the Aprilia, when, by Digia's own account, the first thing Martin said about the bike was that the front is amazing. One rider crossing over and praising a rival's front end can be waved away. A second rider, still inside Ducati, describing the same gap from the other side, is not a complaint anymore. It is a pattern. And a pattern is the one thing a dominant team has no answer for. So what is this front-end weakness actually costing them? And why did nobody in red say a word about it while they were winning everything? Start with what the weakness actually is, because Di Giannantonio did not leave it vague. He laid out the mechanism. A Ducati makes its lap time with the rear of the motorcycle. The rider leans on rear grip to stop it, turn it, and fire it off the corner. And, in his words, they do it all with the rear. That sounds like a strength right up until the second half of the sentence. If you do not manage that rear tyre perfectly over a full race distance, the pace does not gently fade. It falls off a cliff. And Di Giannantonio has described that cliff in the bluntest terms there are. When the rear drops, he said, "Our race is over." That is the part Ducati never put on a poster. For years, the rear-led style was not a flaw, it was the weapon. Because when you own the fastest package on the grid, a bike that punishes a tyre in the last 10 laps is invisible. Nobody is close enough at the flag to make you pay for it. You have already won the race before the weakness gets a chance to bite. The hole was there the entire time. It simply never cost them anything. And that is why this admission is so much louder than it looks. Nothing about the Ducati got worse. Something finally pulled up alongside it and refused to go away. Aprilia. And the way Aprilia is fast is almost cruel, because it is the mirror image of the Ducati. Di Giannantonio spelled that out too. The Aprilia brakes with the front and uses the rear only to drive off the corner, so it does the hard work on entry and keeps the tyre alive for the end. Their corner entry, he said, is incredible. Set that beside, they do it all with the rear, and the picture gets brutal. Aprilia built a bike that is strongest in the exact place Ducati is weakest. And here is the part almost everyone skipped when Jorge Martin left the Ducati camp for Aprilia. That move got sold as a gamble, a step down, maybe even a mistake. But Martin did not climb aboard the Aprilia and vanish. The first thing out of his mouth was praise for the front, the precise area his old bike struggles with. He did not run away from a slow Ducati. He became the first rider to cross the garage and name the flaw in the fast one. That was never a betrayal. It was the first confirmation. Then Mugello arrived and ended the argument. At Ducati's home race, on a track Ducati had won at for 4 straight years, Aprilia locked out the entire front row. Marco Bezzecchi took pole with the first lap under 1 minute and 44 seconds ever ridden there, and Martin clocked a new top speed record past 368 kilometers an hour. But the detail that should keep Ducati awake is quieter than any of that. On Friday, Ducati had 5 of the top 6. 1 lap, fresh tyre, and the red bikes were everywhere. But in qualifying, not one of them reached the front row. The best Ducati was Marc Marquez down in 4th, with Fermin Aldeguer and Pecco Bagnaia 5th and 6th on the grid. A wall of red bikes lined up in the wake of the Aprilias. The single lap speed was real. And in the race, the Aprilias still ran 1-2 at the front. The best a Ducati could do was Bagnaia dragging it back to 3rd, with Di Giannantonio 5th and Marquez 7th. the rear giving up exactly the way Di Giannantonio described. So by Mugello, he had stopped softening it. The Aprilia, he admitted, is superior to us today. Right now, they have something extra. And then the line that should land hardest in Borgo Panigale. With this bike, we have pretty much reached our limit. That is not a rider asking for one more part. That is a rider saying the well has run dry. So pull the season back to what is actually happening underneath the lap times. The story the headlines were telling was simple. Aprilia finally got fast, and Martin might be second-guessing his jump. Listen to Ducati's own side of the garage, though, and a different story climbs out from under that one. People thought this was about Aprilia closing a gap. It was really about Ducati's weakness finally finding a witness. The front-end limitation did not show up in 2026. It was built into the bike through every one of those championship years, hidden behind a margin so wide that nobody could get close enough to expose it. Aprilia did not create the hole. Aprilia just pulled alongside and held a mirror to it, and a Ducati rider looked into that mirror and calmly described what he saw. That is the shift Ducati cannot reverse. A rival being fast is a problem you attack with parts and time. Your own rider explaining in public the exact mechanical reason your bike comes apart over a race is a different animal entirely. You cannot unsay it. The grid heard it, every engineer Ducati might want to hire heard it, and every rider weighing up a 2027 seat heard it too. So here is the verdict, and it is not the one the speed charts are pushing. The real threat to Ducati in 2026 is not Aprilia's top speed. It is not Bezzecchi's pole or Martin's record down the straight. Those are symptoms. The damage that actually matters is that the weakness is no longer deniable, because the people who used to deny it have stopped. For 4 years, Ducati's biggest asset was not only the bike, it was the aura around it. The shared belief that the red machine was the safe choice, the benchmark, the thing every rival measured themselves against. That aura runs on silence. It needs riders to insist the package is complete, that any defeat is a bad setup or a bad weekend. The moment a Ducati rider says out loud that the front is a known limit, that the bike has nothing left to give, the aura cracks. And once it cracks from the inside, no upgrade seals it back up because the doubt has stopped being about the machine. It is about whether Ducati was ever as far ahead as everyone simply agreed to believe. So the real question was never whether Aprilia found speed. It is whether Ducati's dominance was ever as solid as it looked, or just unchallenged long enough to seem that way. What do you think? Was Ducati exposed, or just finally caught? Let us know in the comments below. And, once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now